Our second scripture reading this morning is the second half of the story of the road to Emmaus. This is Luke chapter 24 and verses 28 through 35. Listen to what the Spirit might speak into your life today in this story from the Gospel of Luke. As they came near to the village where they were going, Jesus walked ahead as if he were going on. But they urged him strongly, saying, "Stay with us, because it is almost evening, and the day is now nearly over." So he went in to stay with them. When he was at table with them, he took bread, blessed and broke it, and gave it to them. Then their eyes were opened, and they recognized him, and he vanished from their sight. They said to each other, "Were our hearts not burning within us while he was talking to us on the road, while he was opening the scriptures to us?" That same hour they got up and returned to Jerusalem, and they found the 11 and their companions gathered together. They were saying, "The Lord is risen indeed, and he has appeared to Simon." Then they told what had happened on the road and how he had been made known to them in the breaking of the bread. May God bless to our understanding this reading from God's holy word, and to God's name be glory and praise. Amen. There are some stories in the scriptures, in the Gospels especially, that are just haunting. They're deep. They're full of subtle wonders that you can revisit again and again and discover over the years. Each time you read it, you hear something different. Our reading from Luke today is one of my favorite passages in all the Gospels, and it's found only in Luke. It's the story of Emmaus. I think I've told you before that in about 1996, a drunken school chaplain coerced me into reading this passage, first in French, then in English, to 800 unruly school children in Cameroon. And in that moment, my eyes were opened. And I saw the power and the sanctity of a pulpit. And my severe stage fright evaporated as all 800 of those loud, rambunctious kids grew silent and actually listened. I couldn't believe it. That was the first time I ever thought maybe, just maybe, I would go into the ministry. And most of you, or many of you at least, would probably recall that this is the passage that Cal Wilson chose for his funeral. And it's the one assigned for this day. It's just a profound story with themes of grief and fellowship and memory and vision and sacrament and togetherness and so much more. And every time we celebrate communion, we make reference to this story. Their eyes were opened in the breaking of the bread. Today, the thing about this story that calls for our attention is this question: how do you walk 7 miles with someone you know quite well and not know who they are? What is it that keeps us from seeing people for who they are and seeing things for what they are? What opens our eyes to the resurrection life that is around us, but that we fail to see at most times? All that is good and true and beautiful. What keeps us from seeing? Oh, may we have the eyes to see the God who's walking beside us, even in our darkest and our saddest hours. Okay, well, I know I've told you this before. I've got this bed at home. It is the worst heirloom you could ever get, a bed. It's in the guest room at my house, and it was built by my great-great-grandfather, whose name was Brian Snyder, which is 2/3 of my name. If you listen closely to this story, you'll realize that I have Snyders on both sides of the family. Don't pull at that thread. He too was a clergyman, and legend has it that he only spoke Pennsylvania German. I love that bed. It's the dumbest antique that you can own. It's clunky, it's kind of ugly. My grandmother was born in that bed, different mattress, different springs, but the same bed frame, over 100 years ago. And my mother then was born in that bed 80-some years ago. I should know her age. And Grandma kept that bed in her attic. And every time we would go and visit her and stay in the summer, it was in that bed that my 3 brothers and I all piled in and slept. 3 across and 1 at our feet, the youngest. Perpendicular. I have fond memories of waking up in that bed and seeing the ornately carved headboard above me. And Grandma would be down in the kitchen singing her hymns as she made us French toast. And there would be a thrush singing its morning hymn out in the woods behind the house. And I have few fonder memories of safety and freedom and just being loved. Decades later, when my bachelor uncle died while living in Grandma's house, I knew that it was going to be a battle for the bed. I knew that all of my siblings and I were going to be fighting over the bed. I knew that everyone would want it, but you know what? No one did. No one wanted that old bed, so it fell to me. Now, switch gears. Just last week, my daughters were debating something else. They were on the family text feed. We're miles apart from each other, but we all keep in touch daily by texting. They were on the family text feed, and they were debating who would get the old book of fairy tales that I used to read to them when they were kids, which had been mine in 1973 when I was 3 years old. And I would put one on each leg, and I would read to them the book that was read to me when I was a child. They both want that book, as tattered and old as it is, with really kind of gruesome, scary pictures. This is back when the fairy tales were not yet sanitized. They both want it. It's a sentimental piece of their childhoods, a meaningful part of their pasts that they want to include in their futures. I thought I had the perfect solution. There's one book, there's 2 kids. Whoever doesn't get the book can have the bed. Perfect solution. Everybody's happy. You know, the bed that I love, the one crafted by an ancestor whose name I bear, the one in which 2 of their grandmothers were born, the one in which I used to sleep as a child. That's a fair trade, right? One gets the book, the other gets the bed. Crickets. Nobody wants that bed. It means nothing to them. Plus, it's big and it looks kind of haunted. And it's dark and outdated. Finally, Greta, my younger daughter, said, "Okay, I'll just take the fancy headboard if it's that important to you, but I still want the book." Maybe one of my nieces or nephews will want it. I tell you that to illustrate a point. We see value in places where other people don't see value. We see the world through the lenses that life has given us, the lenses we've got, and we don't always see value in the same places. Those lenses are shaped by our experiences, our values, the things that matter to us, the things that don't. We all see the world as we see it, and we all see it slightly differently. And yet, we make the dangerous assumption that everyone we love sees it exactly as we see it and sees value in all the things that we value. But very often we do not see the beauty and the value that the people we love see, or we come to see it too late. I look at a bed and it recalls to me my personal history and safety and peace, as ugly as it is, and I have to admit. My daughters look at a fairy tale book and it gives them the same feeling. But they look at that bed and they see a stack of splinters, and it has given me splinters a few times. This happens a lot. Many people see beauty and worth where you do not. I'm not a particular lover of dogs or sports or sunbathing or motorcycles, but a lot of people love them. I am a big fan of walking miles with 40 pounds on my back and sleeping in the woods. Not everybody loves that. Our perspective is shaped by the things that matter to us and the things that we have experienced in life and our personal tastes. We tend to see what we're looking for. We tend to see the things that we think will be useful for us. And in doing that, we miss out on so much that is good because we're not looking. Very often we fail to see the God who is walking beside us in sadness and in joy. The very God that we're longing for is right there. journeying alongside of us. Just a recap in case you missed it. The risen Christ in this story from Luke is walking with two of his friends, but they can't see who he is. They were clearly with him in the upper room on the night of his arrest, because there were more than just 12 people in that room, 13 people. And for 7 miles, they walk with him, and they have no idea who he is. They couldn't see Jesus. All they could see was their sadness and their fear. That was all they saw. They couldn't see him for who he was, the very one they were talking about, the very one they were thinking about. All they could see was the collapse of their hopes, the victory of death over life, and the gruesome and unjust death of their friend. There are times in life when you can't see anything but the darkness. And for them, in this day, how can they see resurrection life when they've got so much darkness on their minds? And how were their eyes opened to this Jesus, their friend who was walking with them? Well, here's another mystery, and it doesn't fit with the overall theme of the sermon, but I can't resist it because it's too cool. They say to that wandering stranger whom they do not recognize, "It's getting dark. Stay with us for the night." And Jesus at the table did what Jesus does at tables. Even if he's a guest, he acts like the host. And he took the bread, and he blessed the bread, and he broke the bread, and he gave the bread. And in that moment, they knew who he was. But listen, this thing with the bread, this is a beautiful mystery that we usually don't see. It's always in this order: take, bless, break, give. Jesus took the bread. He blessed the bread. He broke the bread. He gave the bread. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and Paul, writers who probably did not know each other, all use the same verbs in the same order when talking about the sacred act that Jesus performed on the night of his arrest. Take, bless, break, give. Just as Jesus himself was taken from his quiet life in Galilee and blessed in the baptismal waters of the Jordan and broken on the cross of this world's suffering and given like bread for the life of this world. And if you follow after him, you too will be taken and blessed and broken and given like bread for the life of the world. These recurring words in this exact order and their hidden meaning, these are among the subtle beauties of the scriptures that you only see after years of not seeing them. Well, here we are. It's Confirmation Sunday 2026. Confirmands, you're sitting all over the place. We are proud of you. We love you. I think I got to see each of you in a new way at our very last confirmation class when we, as a confirmation gift, got together and made prayer beads. These are Protestant prayer beads. There's no Mary. And we had each of the kids pick the beads that they wanted, the emblem that they wanted, the size, the color, the texture, the design, and they made their own beads. And if you ever want to learn a person's personality, watch them making something. Some of them were very orderly and meticulous and symmetrical. Others were all over the map and beautiful. Some had muted colors, some had bright colors. One child said, "I didn't pick the beads according to their colors or their size. I like their textures." And I got to see these kids whom I have known mostly their whole lives and whom this congregation has known their whole lives. You saw them baptized. And we got to see them in a whole different way and to see just a little bit of the adults that they are becoming. And so, speaking on behalf of every adult in this church, let me say it is a privilege to have journeyed this far, and the journey is not over, down through the years of your lives. And it's a joy to welcome you into full membership of this congregation. The world is held together by promises, which in church speak we call covenants. We took seriously the promises that we made as your church at your baptisms. And if you were baptized at another church, somebody made those promises for us, but it's still the same promise. to love and nurture you, and to show you as best we could in our broken and imperfect lives the Christ that we talk about and the love that we talk about in this place. And we hope that you will take seriously the promises that you will make in just a few minutes. What is the message specifically to our Bower Hill confirmation class today? There are a few. First is this: there is some strange stuff indeed that made it into the Bible, but it also contains enormous wisdom and beauty that you only discover by living with it and spending your years with it and allowing it to speak to you in new ways and in new days. I hope that you will learn a love for this wonderful and very much misunderstood book. And I pray that you will live the rest of your lives in conversation with this text, with this book, with eyes wide open to its guidance and its wisdom and its beauty, and reopened again and again to its message to you for each phase in your journey. Never fail to see the God who's already walking right beside you. But there's another thing in this message about seeing and not seeing, and this is equally true for our newly confirming members as it is for our old-timers. In this life, you usually see what you're looking for, and little else. And if those disciples on the road to Emmaus were only able to look at their grief, it's no wonder they couldn't see the beautiful resurrection life that was also there with them. If you're not looking for resurrection life, if you're not looking for the beauty and the wholeness and the goodness and the hopeful possibilities and the grace that Jesus called the kingdom, then you will very easily miss those things. You have to train your eyes on them. You have to expect them. You have to surround yourself with people who also are straining for those things. You know, when you grow up in church, you often don't think it's anything special and you can't wait to get away from it. Maybe it was fun when you were little, but as you got older, it started to get a little more boring and a little more boring. All too often, we treat confirmation like graduation. You've jumped through all your final churchly hoops, and now you are free from organized religion. But when you've always had a thing, you sometimes can't see its beauty. And you can't see that what you have here is really special and really unusual. In this room, there are people of many different ages, many who have known you all your lives. In this room, you've got a ready-made community of people who care about you, who will always welcome you, no matter what. People who want to see what you become in this life. People you can always turn to. People who will pray for you. You may not see the value in that kind of community just yet because you're too busy figuring out who you are as an individual. But there comes a day when you need a good group to belong to. People who will welcome you and love you and call you home to yourself again and again. There comes a day when you look around your life and you look for a group of people who are also looking for meaning and beauty and grace and love. When that day comes, remember that you have all of those things in this place. See the God walking beside you down the winding ways of your life, for that God often walks in orthopedic Skechers, like about half the people in this room. Here you will see again and again welcome, acceptance, comfort, a comforting ritual, beauty, inspiration, a piece of yourself that goes back a long, long way, just like a book or a bed. You may not be able to see all the goodness of it right now, but you'll see it when the time comes. We are all here because somehow, in some way, at some point in the journey of our life, maybe in a dark hour of grief, the living Christ came sidling up and walked beside us, and our hearts burned within us, and it changed us, and it keeps us coming back. We're here because at some moment along the journey, Christ opened our eyes to another possibility, this resurrection life, all that is good and true and beautiful. And though we sometimes lose sight of that vision, it haunts us and it pursues us in our desire for a better world. We hope that you will see again and again the things that we have sometimes seen and sometimes forgotten. It is that in whatever fear or darkness or loneliness or despair we know in these uncertain lives, there is one who walks beside us, just waiting to be noticed, waiting to be welcomed to the table. And so, let us see past our worries and our phones and our feelings and our urgencies and our own small perspectives. There is a bigger picture to life and to the world. And though mysterious, it is endlessly lovely and always good. God, give us eyes to see the beauty and the worth of these lives that we take for granted. God, train our eyes to see through the evening shadows to the goodness, truth, and beauty hidden right there beside us in every moment of the journey. God, give us eyes to see you walking at our side. Let us live with eyes wide open. Amen.